A ton of new horror movies premiered at Fantastic Fest this past weekend, and the reviews are not what I expected. Let's talk about 5 of the movies that I'm the most excited for and what reviewers thought of them. Hey everybody, I'm Killjoy Jake, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. If you're excited for some new horror movies releasing this fall, then make sure to like this video and subscribe for more updates and reviews just like this. Also, the best way to support the page is by becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter, where you'll get a bonus review video each week. This week, I'll be posting an exclusive review on the new Shudder slasher Night of the Reaper. Thank you for your support. Now let's get into this. COYOTES premiered at Fantastic Fest this past weekend, starring horror darling Justin Long. Justin has been in everything from Barbarian to Tusk to VHS Beyond to It's a Wonderful Knife. 4 very different movies where he essentially plays a jerk-off character with major assholery. Here in COYOTES, it seems to be a similar case, as he plays a comic book artist named Scott who spends more time working than he does with his family at his home in the Hollywood Hills. If that sounds like a generic setup to you, it sounds like the rest of this film falls into that category too. The plot description for this animal attack flick reads, trapped in their Hollywood Hills home, a family fights for survival when caught between a raging wildfire and a pack of savage coyotes. In Trace Thurman's review over on Bloody Disgusting, he says that the film is refreshing in the sense that it's not trying to push any sort of social commentary with its animal angle, but it doesn't really offer up much else with its pedestrian and predictable script. He praises Justin Long's performance, but I guess a lot of the jokes in this seeming horror comedy fall flat. This one seems to be getting a mixed reception, however, as my buddy Alex from Beyond the Void Horror podcast praised the characters and didn't mind the CGI coyotes. I think we all love some practical effects, but I guess there are some moments where some CGI coyotes are running around this flick. There are also some real ones too, just to clarify. As long as you don't have shoddy CGI animals running around the entire time, I'm cool with it. Movies like this need some sort of new edge to it to really grab my attention, and this one just doesn't seem to have that outside of an awesome Justin Long performance. I'm excited to see him add another jerk character to his repertoire, but besides that, I don't know if this one's gonna offer up much else. If nothing else though, something extremely interesting has come from this project that I have to note here. The director of this flick, Colin Minahan, is likely best known for co-writing and directing one of the very best found footage flicks ever made, 2011's Grave Encounters. It's an easy top 10 found footage flick. Fight me. It was recently announced that Justin Long plans on rebooting the found footage franchise, with his COYOTES co-star and real-life wife, Kate Bosworth, producing the project. Colin Minahan and Stuart Ortiz, the original directors of Grave Encounters, are both on board this project as well. You can't tell me this isn't something they were planning and or talking about on the set of COYOTES. That has me so excited, I cannot wait for more Grave Encounters. By the way, while we're talking about this, Grave Encounters 2 freaking rocks. Richard Hartman from Final Destination Bloodline stars in it. If you haven't seen it yet, it's maybe just as good as the first one. Oh, I could make a whole video about that. Maybe one day I will. COYOTES, however, releases in theaters on October 3rd of this year, same day as VHS Halloween, which, trust me folks, we're gonna talk about that one in a sec. The remake of Silent Night Deadly Night premiered at Fantastic Fest, which is coming from director Mike P. Nelson. In case you haven't seen the original or its wacky sequels, the slasher's plot description reads, when Billy witnesses his parents' grisly murder on Christmas Eve at the hands of Santa Claus, it ignites a lifelong mission to spread holiday fear. Every Christmas, he dons the jolly red suit and delivers a blood-soaked massacre to feed his twisted sense of justice. Punish! Did I get the role? Am I gonna be in the next one? I have been such a big fan of Mike P. Nelson's pretty much ever since I saw his 2020 reimagining of the Wrong Turn franchise. It's the best one in the bunch. Again, fight me. Mike is also responsible for one of the very best segments in VHS history from VHS 85, and that cute little Sweet Revenge Jason short that was actually a commercial for hard cider. His remake of SNDN is getting a lot better reviews than the latter, however, as Cody Leach says it's his favorite film in that entire slasher franchise. While Leach says that it could have used a touch more carnage candy, Rowan Campbell's performance absolutely carries. The most interesting thing about Cody's initial review is that he closes it out by saying that it's a mix of Silent Night Deadly Night if you threw in elements from like Venom, Frailty, and Dexter. What? Is there a Kris Kringle symbiote crawling around this one, and does it taste like candy canes? Inquiring minds would like to know. Other reviewers have mostly given praise to the remake, but have criticized some of its ambitious moves. For instance, Slash Films' Ryan Scott says it's a big crazy swing. In an era when Hollywood is so IP obsessed, even if it doesn't all work like gangbusters, there is something refreshing about how straight up audacious this movie ends up being. This is nothing new for Mike P. Nelson, who has reimagined a ton of different franchises at this point, where, in my opinion, one was a big massive hit and the other one is a commercial for apple cider. I have to give some love to Sweet Revenge, however, because I did think it was really cool that our final girl came back to life from Crystal Lake. I didn't think of Crystal Lake as like this lake that has these powers that can do that to like just anybody. That feels very fresh in a franchise that has 12 movies already, and hopefully we get a goddamn 13th one. While ambitious swings like this can either totally rejuvenate a franchise or just leave it behind in the dust, I'm banking on a Christmas miracle with the new Silent Night remake punishing us on December 12th. VHS Halloween premiered at Fantastic Fest, and it may just be my personal most anticipated flick for the rest of 2025. It's no surprise that this franchise's latest entry is once again getting stellar reviews. Brian Tallarico from Roger Ebert says that the 8th entry in the series is possibly the most consistent in tone, which he describes as a tongue-in-bloody-cheek sense of humor and willingness to go beyond perceived decorum. While many segments of the new flick, especially Casper Kelly's fun-sized, which brought down the house allegedly at Fantastic Fest, have been described as having more of a comedic tone, Alex Ross Perry's Kid Print is said to be the darkest segment in the franchise, with a lot of fictional violence against kids. Had to use the word fictional there, because around these parts you might get in trouble for saying something like that. It seems like VHS Halloween is a little more consistent with its theme versus last year's VHS Beyond, where Justin and Christian Long's segment completely went off the rails. It's weird because I think most of VHS Beyond had like this alien and sci-fi tone about it, but then you get to Justin and Christian Long's segment, and it's basically a remake of Tusk, but with dogs. I still really liked that one, even if it doesn't fit the theme, but I am excited to see how Halloween sticks to the format a little better this time. A lot of the reviews, including this one I'm using for today's video, talk a little bit about actual plot points of VHS Halloween, which I'm going to break down in a big video tomorrow. I will warn you that video may get a little spoilery. There's one thing about the wraparound I wish I didn't know going into it after reading this review, but check out that video tomorrow if you're curious as to what you're getting yourselves into with VHS Halloween on October 3rd when it drops on Shudder. I simply cannot wait for this one, fellas. The Strangers Chapter 2 premiered at Fantastic Fest, and even though I had bottom of the barrel expectations for this one, I thought it might have been a sliver better than the absolutely abysmal Chapter 1. Apparently, it's worse. Literally, how can you make a movie that is worse than Chapter 1? That flick just took elements from the other two Strangers movies, repackaged them together in a loose plot, and did it worse. On top of that, I don't need 3 Strangers flicks explaining where these characters came from. It's a fundamental misunderstanding to think that fans of The Strangers want an explanation. The coolest thing about these characters is their mystique. They're literally just hillbillies in spirit Halloween masks, man. I don't care about their backstory. What's scary about them is that they can target literally anybody, including the person watching the film, which makes them terrifying. Explaining who they are, where they come from, who they're targeting next, totally ruins that, shatters it like glass. Instead of trying to course correct from the milquetoast Chapter 1, Chapter 2 is a constant chase scene that once again offers up nothing substantial, according to Megan Navarro from Bloody Disgusting. It's been said by a few reviewers at this point that the Strangers don't even show up in the middle hour of the film, but there is a boar attack instead of any slasher action. What? With that, the flick doesn't even bother to give us any bit of information on the Strangers, which is the one thing it promised to do. Maybe I'll actually like this film more than Chapter 1 because it fails to give us any sort of explanation or any sort of peek behind the curtain. I don't want that in the first place, so maybe this is a good thing. I don't know. Maybe it's just a boring and eventless horror flick, which actually could be worse. I think director Renny Harlin just does not know how to approach this franchise, and it's becoming more and more evident as more of these chapters come out. The Strangers Chapter 2 comes out this weekend on September 26th. I'll be posting a public review of it this Friday, and reluctantly so. Yikes. Last but certainly not least, because the Strangers Chapter 2 is the least one. That would be the one I would describe as least. Black Phone 2 premiered at Fantastic Fest this weekend, and it's getting mixed reviews, interestingly enough. This is a sequel that I didn't think was necessary by any means, but totally won me over with the marketing. The concept of turning the grabber into essentially the new Freddy Krueger had me really intrigued, and honestly, the mixed reviews had me more excited for the flick. Let me explain. Both Sean Chandler and Cody Leach said the flick got too big for its britches. They missed that smaller contained story of the original. They both, however, praised the Nightmare on Elm Street influence and performances here. Megan Navarro of Bloody Disgusting clarified that the film doesn't fall into Dream Demon pastiche, as BP2 finds a way to pay homage to the Wes Craven franchise while finding its own footing. The dream sequences are made to look like they were shot on Super 8 cameras, just like the tapes from director Scott Derrickson's Sinister from 2013. There's a distinct difference in the way that the dream sequences and reality are shot in the flick, which sounds awesome to me. Based on the reviews, I think I'm really gonna love Black Phone 2, which is clearly shifting into a whole new arena of horror. From the trailers, you can tell it's going to be a supernatural slasher that's larger than life. That is a huge departure from the original flick, yes, but how else do you make a sequel to The Black Phone? Where I'm sitting now before I see the flick, I feel like this is the best way to do it, to kind of expand on one of the smaller aspects of that original flick with the ghosts, but now applying that element to the villain. There are some things I'm hearing about it that sounds like it's getting into some of the same problems I had with the original flick. Like, I didn't love the first act. I feel like it took a while to really find its footing. Seems like it's the same thing here, but overall I think Black Phone 2 is going to be a standout sequel, potentially, like Stephen King says, better than the original. I'm excited to pick up this phone again on October 17th. Now, I couldn't get to every single flick that premiered at Fantastic Fest this past weekend, otherwise this video would be like an hour long. A few others that I'm really excited for, though, is Johannes Roberts' Primate, which is about a chimp, a pet chimp for a family that gets rabies and starts clawing people's faces open. I mean, I'm interested. I'm sold. Let's go, baby. I don't even need to read reviews on that one. And then there's also a Texas Chainsaw Massacre inspired slasher called Dolly coming in at a cool 76 minutes. Sounds like a quick watch, maybe a fun bloody time too. Point being, though, it sounds like there's a lot of good stuff besides Strangers Chapter 2, of course, coming out of Fantastic Fest. Let me know down in the comments below which movie you're the most excited for. Thank you all again for watching. Please subscribe, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.